Welcome to another episode of the Voices of the Learning Network podcast. Hello, listeners. This is your host today, Bill Banham. And in this episode, I'm joined by someone on a mission to reshape how L&D teams think about impact, value, and recognition. I'm pleased to be joined today by Emma Clausen, founder and chief success officer over at Rooftop Recognition. Emma has spent more than 25 years across L&D, talent, learning, technology, and EdTech in the UK and the US, working in-house with vendors in corporate settings and through consultancy. She is seeing the pressure learning teams face from every angle. So in terms of proving value, showing impact, and standing out in a crowded marketplace, Emma is the right person to hear from. Emma's work not only elevates organizations, she elevates the industry as a whole. Emma, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the show today. How are you doing?
Thank you, Bill, so much. It's really lovely to be here. I'm popping my podcast cherry today, so it's really lovely to be in your company. Thanks for having me.
Well, as we discussed before we hit record today, I am going to go easy on you. Sometimes I don't go easy on my guests. I challenge them in different ways. But as it's your first time on a pod, Emma, we're gonna take it slow and have a bit of fun together here today. Let's get straight into it. Firstly, you've spent more than 2 decades, as I mentioned a moment ago, inside L&D, talent, EdTech, and learning tech. Looking across those different worlds, what do you think most shapes an organization's ability to prove the value of learning today?
Starting with a big question. I'd say, honestly, the biggest differentiator that I see, it isn't actually the sophistication of the solution itself or the tools or the dashboards, whatever that thing is that people are creating. It's really about creating clarity much, much earlier in the process. And the organizations that can genuinely prove their value are the ones who are designing for that impact from the very start. So they're really clear about the business problem that the L&D or the wider talent and EdTech community is trying to address. They agree what success looks like before anything is built. And they involve stakeholders early, not just when it's time to report those results.
Okay, love that answer. You are a podcast natural so far. Good work. Continuing through, many learning teams feel constant pressure to show impact, but aren't always set up with the tools or the data or clarity that they need. What are the most common blockers that you see when teams try to measure and demonstrate value?
Well, I'd say that, one of the biggest misconceptions is that the blockers are technical, that teams need better data, better tools, when in reality, most of the blockers are actually structural and cultural. And I can think of 3 sort of places or areas where this tends to show up. First, there's often no shared definition of what impact actually means. So at learning or L&D, HR, the business, they're all using the same word, but meaning very different things. So that's one of the blockers. Secondly, data does exist, but it's often fragmented, owned by different functions, not easily accessible, and so that can create these blockers. And then third, L&D is frequently held accountable for outcomes that they don't have the authority to influence, right? So, we create the solution, but there are other factors in the business that can get in the way. And I'm going to add a 4th quiet blocker, which I think is actually fear of what the data might show, or fear of being measured against standards that L&D actually didn't create in the first place. My hot take.
Okay, thank you very much. You've delivered learning network curated sessions in the past on award strategy and L&D performance. It's always nice when we feature folks who are active within the learning network community. But from your experience, Emma, why is recognition such an effective lever for elevating the voice and credibility of learning teams?
I think it's an effective lever because it really forces discipline in a way that few other processes do. When a team prepares for an award or formal recognition of any kind, they have to answer some difficult questions, right? They have to talk about the problem that it is that they're solving. They have to be able to explain and justify the rationale between around the approach that they've created. They have to be able to clearly define what actually changed as a result of it. And this clarity alone really elevates their thinking and helps teams speak with confidence. It gives them a language that senior leaders already understand. So, for example, when they're leaning into things like evidence, outcomes, benchmarks, rather than the L&D language that we tend to sort of lean into. And then finally, I'd say that gaining recognition, it's not just about the trophies. Even when teams don't win, the process of entering actually strengthens their ability to articulate that value, to align internally and raise their own standards of practice. So lots and lots of benefits and lots to celebrate. Getting very meta into the recognition piece.
I can feel your passion coming through, so thank you.
I love all.
I understand that you've written over 90 award-winning submissions, and you have this extraordinary 99% success rate. Firstly, congratulations. What separates a good story from a great one when it comes to award entries and impact narratives?
Thank you. That's very kind of you, first of all. I'd say, honestly, the key word is story. So quite often when it comes to completing award submissions, teams tend to answer the questions very literally and very technically. We did this, we did that. And what's really important to remember is that the judges are, for now, and I hope for a very long time to come, human beings. We can keep AI away from judging, please. And most of the judges have worked in and around the industry, and we understand and have likely experienced some of the same challenges that the entrants have faced. So the strongest impact narratives take the reader, whether it is the judge or your stakeholder, on a journey. They describe the challenges the business was facing. They describe how the solution was developed, including the rationale and decision making that went into it, and any challenges that they faced along the way, because those are actually, are the most important part of the story to tell. And of course, crucially, they reveal that impact, which hopefully lines up with what the intended outcomes were in the very beginning.
Just a quick follow-up to what you said there, going off script ever so slightly. You mentioned in your last answer keeping the AI out of the judging. Is, in your experience, is AI not helping you with those submissions? Are you using something like Perplexity, ChatGPT and whatnot? Is that not making your life a bit easier these days?
No, I can honestly say that I haven't used any of those tools to do the judging. I'm looking very closely at the criteria. I take the judging very that responsibility really seriously. So for me, I understand what goes into creating these. So I want to make sure that I'm looking at it, scrutinizing it through my own eyes.
From your time as an awards judge and the category chair, what do judges really look for? What are some tips there, especially in categories focused on performance, innovation, or measurable impact?
So I can't speak for all judges, but from my own experience, there has to be alignment between what was stated in the beginning in terms of what the expected or desired outcomes were and what actually happened afterwards. And it's that old, it does what it says on the tin adage comes to mind. And I've read so many submissions that get that first part right, and teams are able to articulate what the performance shift or desired outcome looked like, right? So whether that's, we need to improve engagement on XYZ factor, or our leaders need to give more feedback in the moment rather than annually. You get the picture. And yet when it comes to sharing the results, there's no tie back to improved engagement scores or indication that feedback frequency changed as a result of the training. And instead, applicants focus on things like improved confidence or completion rates or other non-connected metrics. So what I'm really looking for is that closing of the loop. We set out to change X and we did Y and we smashed it. That's the dream. It's surprising though how few applicants can actually do this. And I have some ideas around the culprits, but I don't know if I'm now going off script, so you let me know.
Award programs, let's face it, sometimes they get dismissed as a nice to have, but your work shows that they can strengthen internal influence, support talent attraction, raise industry standards. What strategic value do organizations often underestimate when it comes to awards?
Yeah, so it's so true that there is a sort of a lot of negative rhetoric sometimes around awards, but I'd say internally the process of entering and hopefully winning awards creates that alignment. It creates pride. It gives teams a shared narrative about what good looks like and why their work matters. And then sort of looking externally, it supports talent attraction, as you mentioned, credibility and industry positioning, which is just so important in today's like crowded, very, very noisy marketplace. So for those people who are selling solutions or selling platforms, they become really crucial. But I'd say most importantly, awards act as a mirror. They help you surface the gaps, right, in the measurement or the storytelling, collaboration. And so to that end, even unsuccessful entries can help raise maturity, sharpen your evaluation practices, and really help you improve your future performance. So I'd say, to be cheesy, but in many cases, the real return on investment actually comes from the process itself and not always the win.
Impact storytelling is obviously at the heart of what you do, Emma. How can L&D teams become better storytellers, especially when the data feels incomplete or the outcomes aren't easily quantifiable?
Surely there's never incomplete data, is there? So I'd say, first of all, find the right story, right? So not all success stories are grounded in making these massive changes at the enterprise level. Sometimes it's the very small incremental changes that can have a bigger ripple effect across teams or processes, and those can lead to that wider impact. Maybe the success story is actually just helping learning become more accessible, right? Whether it's embedding content in the flow of work or setting up mentoring or communities of practice, I'd say find those small wins. And then in terms of telling the stories themselves, things like testimonials and case studies can really help showcase the work that is having these moments of quiet impact. And when you're doing that and gathering that information, I would target the people who have both been directly and indirectly impacted by that change. So that's your learners themselves, and then the leaders or your internal clients, your peers. Talk to those people, find those champions, and help them tell the story for you. And I'd say the gold standard, if you can, is video. Get them on the records and use their stories to help bolster your own.
Yes, a little bit ironic. This is an audio podcast, but yes, video is good too.
Yeah.
And just finally for today, Emma, I'm sure you and I will have more opportunities to chat again in the future. But just finally for today, for L&D, talent, or EdTech teams listening who want to strengthen their award strategy, or maybe simply communicate the value of their work more confidently, what's the first practical step? We like to leave with practical takeaways. What's the first practical step that they should take tomorrow?
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so first practical step, download an award submission, right? Go and look at, what's the one that you wish you could win, or that you've been eyeing up, or that you're jealous that your competitors or your teammates have won. Download the submission form, look at the criteria, read the questions, ask yourself, are we doing work at this level to this standard right now? Could we compete? And if the answer is no, use those questions, use that criteria to help you steer and strengthen your next project or your next solution. My philosophy, anyone that knows me well will know that my message is if you treat every new project as something you want to win an award for, you're going to be striving and elevating your own practice. And I'm just going to sort of touch on something we mentioned earlier, that awards do get a lot of flack. There's a lot of cynicism around them. But ultimately, most award programs, especially those that are specific to an industry like ours, like L&D or talent or EdTech, they're there to celebrate two things, right? Best practices and innovation. And so what better motivation is there than that, right? To be recognized by your peers as doing your work at this best in class level. So for me, awards are just one of those many, many factors that help not only shine a light on our brilliant industry, but also encourage that innovation and help us keep it moving forward.
Yep, I can't think of much better, unless, I don't know, maybe you've got your mum or your gran in the audience cheering you on as well. That would be icing on the cake. Emma, well done with your first interview. I joked with you before we hit record today that my favorite interviewees are often the ones who what I call one takers. We did a one taker today, Emma. I learned a lot. I had a lot of fun with you, so thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for making it easy. It was I was shaking before I came on here today, so I appreciate happy questions. I appreciate your lovely calm, welcoming demeanour, and yeah, I enjoyed it very much. Thank you.